Adaobi and Emeka's love was the kind that novels are written about, a tale of two people who seemed to be made for each other. They were inseparable, sharing dreams, laughter, and an unbreakable bond. Emeka had always dreamt of having a family, a cozy home filled with children's laughter. However, Adaobi's outlook was different. She cherished her appearance and the confidence it brought her. The thought of motherhood, while beautiful, made her hesitant because she feared the changes it would bring to her body. For her, staying young and beautiful was paramount, a choice she wasn't willing to compromise. Their love, however, was strong enough to weather such differences. While Emeka's desire for a child grew, he chose not to pressure Adaobi, respecting her wishes. He believed that one day, she might change her mind. After all, love meant acceptance. But as time went by, the tension between them grew. Emeka's yearning for a child became an ache he couldn't ignore, and Adaobi began to see the pain in his eyes whenever they talked about their future. Despite her love for him, she feared the unknown path of motherhood and the inevitable physical changes it would bring. Would Emeka's love for her withstand her reluctance? As the months passed, the divide between Adaobi and Emeka deepened. Emeka's longing for a child became palpable, and even though he continued to support Adaobi's choices, his eyes betrayed his disappointment. Adaobi noticed the change and felt a pang of guilt each time she looked at him. Despite her love for Emeka, she couldn't shake off the fear of losing her youthful look. She was envied by many, admired for her elegance, and known for her vibrant, flawless appearance. Her beauty was her pride. Emeka, on the other hand, became more vocal about his desire to become a father. He tried to express his feelings delicately, hoping not to push Adaobi away. Yet, the more he brought it up, the more Adaobi felt trapped between her love for her husband and her fear of losing herself. She wondered if she could ever find a balance. Could she truly be both a mother and still feel like herself? Torn between Emeka's longing and her own fears, Adaobi began to feel the weight of her decision pressing down on her. One evening, after another heart-wrenching conversation, Adaobi found herself staring at her reflection, questioning her choices. She loved Emeka deeply, and despite her fears, she wanted to give him happiness. The reflection looking back at her was both familiar and alien. What had she become, clinging so tightly to her image that she was willing to deny her husband a family? Adaobi closed her eyes, and for the first time, she envisioned herself as a mother, embracing Emeka's dream as her own. The next morning, Adaobi approached Emeka with a determination she had never felt before. She told him that she was ready to share in his dream and start a family. Emeka's face lit up, a joy she hadn't seen in a long time illuminating his features. She felt a sense of relief and excitement, tempered with a hint of trepidation. They embraced, both feeling the weight of years of waiting slip away. Little did they know, this decision would set them on a path that would change their lives forever. With her decision made, Adaobi embarked on the journey of pregnancy with a blend of joy and apprehension. Emeka was by her side every step of the way, his love growing stronger with each passing day. They prepared together, making their home ready for the new life that would soon join them. As Adaobi's belly grew, Emeka showered her with love and assurance, easing her worries and soothing her fears. She began to understand that beauty was far more than physical appearance. It was in the love she shared with Emeka and the family they were building. The day finally came, and Adaobi gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby boy. Emeka was overjoyed, his heart swelling with pride as he held his son for the first time. He kissed Adaobi's forehead, thanking her for the precious gift she had given him. Though Adaobi felt love and fulfillment in ways she hadn't imagined, a small part of her mourned the physical changes she noticed each time she looked in the mirror. She tried to suppress these feelings, but they lingered, growing stronger as time passed. Years passed, and Adaobi watched her son grow, his laughter filling their home with joy. Yet, the change in her body remained a constant reminder of the sacrifices she had made. The once flawless figure she had so cherished now bore signs of motherhood, stretch marks, a softened belly, and curves that felt foreign to her. Although Emeka continually reassured her of her beauty, Adaobi couldn't shake the feeling of dissatisfaction whenever she glanced at her reflection. She began to research ways to regain her former shape, becoming fixated on her desire to look like the woman she once was. Emeka noticed the change in her demeanor and grew concerned, but Adaobi brushed off his worries. Her determination to return to her pre-motherhood appearance grew into an obsession, a goal she pursued in silence. Emeka could sense her growing distance, feeling as though he was losing the woman he had loved so fiercely. He began to wonder if there was anything he could do to ease her mind, or if her pursuit of perfection would drive them apart. Driven by her insecurities, Adaobi decided to undergo a cosmetic surgery, a tummy tuck that promised to give her the flat stomach she so desperately wanted. When she first mentioned it to Emeka, he was shocked and immediately expressed his disapproval. He loved her as she was, imperfections and all, and had never felt her appearance had diminished in any way. He pleaded with her, urging her to reconsider and assuring her that she was beautiful in his eyes. But Adaobi was unconvinced. Her mind was made up. Despite Emeka's protests, she pushed forward with her plans, arranging the surgery without his support. Emeka's heart ached as he watched her choose this path, feeling helpless as she drifted further away. His pleas fell on deaf ears, and he began to fear the consequences of her decision. Adaobi was determined to reclaim her youth, no matter the cost. The day of her surgery arrived, and as Emeka waited anxiously by her side, he couldn't shake a feeling of dread that gnawed at his heart. As Adaobi was wheeled into the operation room, she gave Emeka a reassuring smile, unaware that it would be the last time they would see each other. Hours passed, and Emeka's anxiety grew with each tick of the clock. When the surgeon emerged, his face was grim. Adaobi had suffered complications during the procedure, and despite the team's best efforts, she hadn't survived. Emeka's world shattered in that instant. His wife, the woman he had loved so dearly, was gone. He was left with only memories and their young son, who would grow up without his mother. The price of Adaobi's pursuit of perfection had been more than they could bear, a tragedy that would haunt Emeka for the rest of his life. As he held their son close, he vowed to tell him stories of his mother's love and beauty, not the one she had sought in mirrors, but the beauty that had lived in her heart. After the devastating loss of his wife, Emeka fell into a deep grief. Each room in their home was a haunting reminder of Adaobi, her laugh, her touch, and the dreams they had shared. The sight of their son brought both solace and sorrow. He was, after all, a part of Adaobi that remained. But as Emeka looked into his son's innocent eyes, he realized he now had a responsibility beyond his grief. He would have to be both mother and father, nurturing and guiding their child through life without Adaobi by his side. For days, Emeka struggled to get up each morning, his heart heavy with loss. But slowly, he began to accept the reality of his situation. His son needed him, and Emeka knew he had to find strength for himself and for his boy. He resolved to keep Adaobi's memory alive in their son's life, sharing stories of her love and joy. He would make sure their child understood the depth of her love, even though her final decision had taken her from them. As the years went by, Emeka built a new life with his son, filling their days with laughter, lessons, and the comfort of routine. He found solace in teaching his son about the world, just as he had once hoped he would with Adaobi by his side. Each evening, Emeka would share stories of his late wife, painting a picture of her love and strength. He was careful, though, to shield his son from the story of her final decision. He wanted him to remember her beauty and kindness, rather than the pain of her choices. Their son grew to be a bright, compassionate young boy, eager to learn about the mother he had lost. Emeka watched him closely, recognizing Adaobi's features in his face, her spirit in his laugh. The memories they created together softened the pain, allowing Emeka to heal little by little. Yet, the void Adaobi had left was something he knew he would carry with him forever. One day, Emeka's son, now a curious 6-year-old, found a photo album tucked away in the attic. The album was filled with pictures of Adaobi in her youthful glory, radiating the beauty she had been so proud of. As his son looked through the photos, he asked Emeka why his mother had gone away. Emeka felt the familiar sting of loss, but gently told him that she had been taken too soon, emphasizing the love she had felt for him. In the days that followed, the photos sparked Emeka's memories, reopening wounds he thought had healed. The happiness he saw in those pictures reminded him of the life they once had, the dreams that had been cut short. But it also inspired him to create new memories with his son, ones that would honor Adaobi's legacy and allow them to live fully, just as she would have wanted. As his son grew, Emeka faced new challenges. There were moments when his son expressed insecurities about his own appearance, and Emeka worried that these concerns had somehow been inherited from Adaobi. He knew he had to set an example, teaching his son that beauty lay within, that self-worth went far beyond physical appearance. Through these conversations, Emeka also learned about his own fears and insecurities. He saw glimpses of his past self in his son's questions, forcing him to confront the painful memories of Adaobi's obsession with beauty. Determined to break the cycle, Emeka vowed to teach his son that inner strength, kindness, and love were far more valuable than any fleeting appearance. Years later, as Emeka's son entered adolescence, he finally gathered the courage to ask more detailed questions about his mother's life and death. Emeka hesitated, worried about how much he should reveal. Yet he knew honesty was essential if he wanted his son to truly understand his mother's story and legacy. He chose his words carefully, explaining that while Adaobi had loved deeply, she had also struggled with self-acceptance. He gently shared that she had gone to great lengths to preserve her youthful beauty, but that it had come with consequences. He reminded his son that while he might have lost his mother, her love for him had always been boundless. Emeka saw understanding in his son's eyes and hoped he had conveyed the importance of self-love and acceptance in a way that would resonate for life. In the following years, Emeka's relationship with his son grew even stronger. They shared a bond of trust and honesty, and Emeka felt the healing power of this connection. He found peace in teaching his son the values he had learned through the trials of life. His son, in turn, grew into a compassionate young man, aware of his mother's struggles, but committed to embracing his own identity without the pressure of perfection. Emeka watched with pride as his son developed a sense of self-worth that went beyond appearances. Together, they celebrated Adaobi's memory by choosing love, kindness, and understanding over superficial ideals. In his heart, Emeka knew Adaobi would be proud of the life they had created, a life defined by strength, resilience, and an unwavering bond. One day, Emeka received a call from one of Adaobi's old friends, a woman who had shared her insecurities and love of beauty with her. She wanted to visit, to reconnect with the family Adaobi had left behind. Emeka welcomed her, eager to share stories and memories. When she arrived, her face was lined with age, yet she wore it gracefully, a reminder to Emeka of the natural beauty Adaobi had once possessed but struggled to accept. They shared memories, laughing and reminiscing about the past. The friends spoke about Adaobi's dreams and fears, adding a new dimension to the image Emeka's son had of his mother. It was a bittersweet moment, filled with love and loss, and it reinforced for Emeka the importance of embracing every aspect of life, including aging and change. The encounter with Adaobi's friend left a lasting impact on Emeka's son. He realized that beauty wasn't something to be feared or chased, but embraced at every stage of life. He confided in his father, sharing his thoughts and reaffirming the values they had built together. Emeka saw his son's growth, his wisdom far beyond his years, and felt immense pride in the young man he was becoming. Together, they honored Adaobi's legacy not by striving for perfection, but by living a life of authenticity, love, and self-acceptance. It was a life Adaobi might have struggled to attain, but one they were now committed to building. As the years rolled on, Emeka and his son continued to grow together, each embracing the lessons they had learned from Adaobi's life and her tragic passing. They no longer felt the weight of loss as deeply, instead choosing to focus on the beauty of each moment. Their home was filled with warmth, laughter, and the quiet strength of two people who had survived great loss and found love on the other side. In time, Emeka found new ways to honor his late wife's memory, often visiting her grave with his son, bringing flowers, and sharing stories. The visits became a time of reflection, a moment for them to remember the past but remain grounded in the present. They had learned, in their own ways, that true beauty lay in love and resilience. As Emeka grew older, his heart remained steadfast, anchored by the love he had shared with Adaobi and the strength he found in raising their son. He had come to understand that Adaobi's pursuit of beauty had been her way of seeking control over life's uncertainties, a desire that had cost her dearly. Yet her life and choices had left him and his son with an invaluable lesson. Through the trials, they had learned to embrace their own flaws, to accept life's inevitable changes, and to value love above all else. They honored Adaobi by living fully and authentically, carrying forward her memory without being burdened by it. Emeka watched with pride as his son graduated, stepped into adulthood, and carried forth the values he had instilled in him. Each milestone was a reminder of the legacy he and Adaobi had built together, a legacy shaped by love, loss, and resilience. His son, now a man, was the embodiment of everything Emeka and Adaobi had hoped for, a strong, compassionate individual who embraced life with courage. In his later years, Emeka reflected on the journey he had taken. He had loved deeply, lost profoundly, and found peace in the beauty of imperfection. Through his pain, he had discovered a truth he wished Adaobi had seen, that life's truest beauty came not from appearances, but from love and acceptance. He knew her spirit lived on in their son, and he was grateful for the life they had shared, however brief it had been. On a quiet evening, Emeka sat with his son, now a father himself, sharing stories of Adaobi and the family they had built together. Their love, though tested and scarred by tragedy, had transcended time, shaping the lives of those who had come after them. As Emeka's son embraced his own children, he whispered a silent thanks to the mother he had never known fully but had always loved. Through this family, Adaobi's memory was honored, and her love endured, no longer a burden but a source of strength, woven into the fabric of each life she had touched. In the end, the family understood that true beauty lay not in preserving the past, but in embracing every stage of life with grace, resilience, and love.